So, you want to start playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And experience one of the best card games ever made. That's great! But there's one problem. Whenever you go to look stuff up about the game, you're bombarded by $100 cards and $1,000 deck lists, and after a while, you begin to wonder if there's even a way to play this game at all without having to take out a second mortgage. Well, have no fear, because today I'm going to show you how you can have a great time playing this game without breaking the bank. Now, I made a video like this with a similar concept in 2017, but since then, the game has evolved so much. There's now tons of ways to play Yu-Gi-Oh! For cheap, or basically even free. So, today, I thought I'd put together a little buyer's guide to let you know how you can start playing this game for under $20. And first item up on the list is going to be, you guessed it, the tried and true starter deck. Starter decks are pre-made decks of cards targeted towards new players. These decks aren't complex and they aren't competitive, as the goal of them is to teach Yu-Gi-Oh! To brand new players who have never even picked up a card before. In terms of what starter deck you should get, really any of them, they all do a fantastic job at teaching you how to play this game. But the one thing you do want to keep in mind when you're going to buy a starter deck is that you're actually buying a starter deck. Because, in addition to starter decks, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has released a full line of pre-constructed structure decks, which are aimed at moderate to advanced players. These decks are still fun to play, it's just that as a brand new player, you'll be confused by the more complicated mechanics featured in them. The good news is that it's very easy to tell a starter deck and a structure deck apart, as it will say right on the box what the deck is. However, these decks, apart from the labeling, can look pretty similar, so make sure you're checking what you're getting, otherwise you could walk out of the store with the wrong one. Overall, starter decks are an excellent resource for learning this game, and they're well worth the $10 you pay for them. Now, with half of our budget blown, many players would assume that we'd use the rest of it in order to buy more cards and buff up our decks. However, I would advise you to wait a little bit before you do that. Simply because you're a brand new player. You've probably never even had your first duel. You honestly don't know what a good card is, and you're far from knowing what cards would go best with your deck to make it more powerful. As such, I'd wait till you've played a few games with your current deck before going and buying some singles to improve it. Until then, with our remaining budget, what I'm going to recommend you do is buy some accessories that will make your Yu-Gi-Oh! Life easier and set you up for success in the long run. So, I'm just going to start with the most basic of the basic accessories, and that is the deck box. The premise of a deck box is as simple as it sounds. It's a small box used to store your cards, and while this might not seem too useful at first, it can be a godsend when it comes to storing, organizing, and transporting your decks. In terms of a cheap beginner's deck box, you can't really go wrong with the Ultra Pro 80 card deck boxes. These are small boxes made of a thin but sturdy plastic, and they do a fair enough job holding all your cards. Also, you really can't beat the price. The MSRP on them is $5, but I have never seen them sold at that. Most stores are just giving these away, selling them at $2, or oftentimes less. A couple of notes about this deck box though. As stated before, the plastic on it is pretty thin, and can often bend when pressure is applied. This in turn can then cause the cards inside to bend and crease. This is not a deck box that you can toss haphazardly into your bag and expect everything to be okay. So don't throw it in your carry-on luggage on a 5-hour flight across the country, otherwise you'll crease an original Shonen Jump Obelisk the Tormentor alternate art promo and feel like a fool. Overall though, this deck box would do a competent job of storing your cards, as long as you're careful with it. And to be honest, at the beginning of your Yu-Gi-Oh! Journey, you're probably not going to have any cards that are worth more than 50 cents or so a crease here and there shouldn't be a big issue. So, we got $5 left in our budget, and we're going to spend $4.50 on sleeves. If you played Yu-Gi-Oh! As a kid, you probably remember how beat up your cards would get. I'm talking about water damage, scratches on the back, bent corners, the whole shebang. While it's true that you're probably going to be treating your cards a lot more delicately now, it's important to remember that these are still just bits of cardboard, and over time, the wear obtained just from playing the game, no matter how gently, will damage your cards. That is, unless you use sleeves. Sleeves are small plastic pockets used to protect your cards while you're playing the game. Using sleeves can multiply the lifespan of your cards exponentially, as they're going to take the bulk of the abuse your cards would have received. Trust me, it is so much easier and cheaper replacing a pack of sleeves than it would be replacing an entire deck of cards due to wear. Personally, I use Ultra Pro's small size matte sleeves. Admittedly, these aren't the most durable, meaning that you're gonna have to replace them over time, but for $4.50, they get the job done, protecting your cards well and providing a fantastic shuffle feel. If you do want to spend more money on sleeves, you can. Just keep two things in mind. First off, I recommend buying matte sleeves instead of glossy. Matte sleeves are made of a silky smooth plastic that provides an excellent shuffle feel when used. Glossy, on the other hand, it's not the worst thing in the world, but your cards will sometimes get stuck together, and that can get really annoying when you're trying to shuffle. Secondly, when you go buy card sleeves, make sure you're getting the correct size. Most companies' standard size is created for bigger cards, such as Pokemon. Yu-Gi-Oh cards are a lot smaller than these cards, meaning that they will slide around inside the sleeve, and if you're not careful with your handling, you could damage them. This issue can be easily resolved, though, by buying small size sleeves, or sleeves that measure 62mm by 89mm. Now, many of you at home may have realized that we're down to the last 50 cents of our budget. And many of you would say that it's impossible for me to add an item onto the list that costs less than 50 cents. Well, you would be wrong, of course. I can add an item onto the list for a mere 50 cents. How, you ask? By cheating. Okay, so let's be honest. Everyone already has a 3-ring binder. These things are as common as dust, and whether it's from school, work, or some other reason, either you have one, or you can very easily find someone that's more than willing to give one to you. As such, I'm not even going to include the cost of one on the list. Whether intentional or not, you're going to end up with some cards that you either have no use for, or cards that you took out of a deck for newer cards. Rather than just putting these cards in a shoebox never to be seen again, we're going to eloquently display those in a binder so that other people can look at them and trade us cards that we may be interested in. This is where our last 50 cents comes in. Obviously, you can't just put cards in a regular binder sleeve, so we're going to go and get some Ultra Pro 9-pocket binder sleeves. These are the perfect size for cards, although I will say for Yu-Gi-Oh cards, if you have extra sleeves, I recommend putting the Yu-Gi-Oh cards in the sleeves before putting them in the pages, just because these sleeves are meant for Magic card size cards and not Yu-Gi-Oh card size cards. Now, these usually come in packs of 100 of them for about $20, but I know most game stores usually sell them for 25 cents a piece, so for 50 cents, you should be able to get 2 of them, and that is more than enough when you're just starting out. Now, to round out this buyer's guide, I just want to mention an app that Konami recently put out for completely free. Yu-Gi-Oh! Neuron is an app created by Konami meant to be used while playing Yu-Gi-Oh! It's half dueling calculator and half card database. Now, on the dueling calculator side, it can be used to easily keep track of yours and your opponent's life points. This isn't a new concept by any means. There have been free apps that have been doing this for years unofficially, but oh my god, this is by far the best one I have ever seen. It's so quick and easy to change life point totals, and there's also a host of other features. You can flip a coin, roll a dice, or even play music if you want to. It's incredibly impressive to me that they were able to make an app with so many features that is this easy to use. And I recommend the dueling calculator to everyone, whether you're a new duelist sitting at the table for the first time or a veteran duelist competing in tournaments. You will find this app incredibly useful. So let's review. For $20, I recommend getting a starter deck, sleeves, a deck box, and a binder to store your cards in. In addition, I recommend using the free Yu-Gi-Oh! Neuron app. So that's my guide on how to start playing Yu-Gi-Oh! For under $20 in insert current year here. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you want more great Yu-Gi-Oh! Content, then I would really recommend hitting subscribe. If subscribe's still down there, it might be but I don't know when you're watching this video. Also, leave a comment letting me know why you want to get into Yu-Gi-Oh! Are you completely new, just seeing videos about it on YouTube? Are you an older player that wants to get back into it since you quit elementary school? Leave a comment with that and leave a like. It really helps grow my channel. All the other YouTubers shilling. I'm just gonna end it with, yeah, you should probably get Yu-Gi-Oh! Before Yu-Gi-Oh! Gets you. Ah! Oh. No! Please make me camera be safe!